Y'all, let me tell you how desperate I am for a job. I open Facebook, and the first thing I see is a leasing agent position for the apartments that I'm staying in. Y'all, be, bear with me. I'm out of breath because I just walked all the way up to the leasing office. Yes, and you see, I put on some clothes real quick. Just tried to. I'm running up there. I submitted my resume and walked up there. That's how desperate I am for a damn job. I see that, and I go up there and I'm like, hey, I just saw y'all put up a listing for a leasing agent, and I need a job. And she was like, well, the lady's not here yet, blah blah. And I just, after I left, I started thinking about it. I was like, you ain't never chased after a job this bad. You ain't never. Times is, y'all, because what the hell? It's 155 degrees out here. And I just slipped out of my pajamas. Y'all saw me in the bed. Slipped out of my pajamas, put on some damn interview clothes, and took my right up to this police office to
Those are your interview clothes?
tell it, please put me to work. Y'all, times is hard out here. If you got a job, keep it. Keep it, keep it, keep it. Because and then I knew it was a long shot. In my area, I just feel like black women, we don't get these type of jobs. They really want us in the Burger Kings and McDonald's, but they ain't even hiring me there. I didn't apply for that. It's hard. Keep your job.
I am very confused. Like, real talk. I'm super duper confused. How this went from I really want a job, but I'm too good for McDonald's and I'm too good to work fast food. But then I'm still desperate. And so I put on my interview clothes that don't look like interview clothes. I didn't know that people wore stuff on their head in order to interview and stuff like that. And then I jumped on social media so that I can express to y'all how desperate I am, but I'm also going to show you how ghetto I am. And I'm not sure if they actually checking my social media, but I'm going to put this out there to the people. And at the same time, they genuinely don't want black women to have jobs. I don't know where y'all getting that from. And that's the weirdest part of this conversation is how come when you go through some, all of a sudden it's a us problem, but then if in a general sense, because I remember a year ago, let's be real, I remember a year ago, a little less than a year ago, y'all were saying as y'all had the jobs that was government and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and at the universities doing a little bit of nothing, and y'all was just getting paid, and you had your African American studies and underwater basket weaving degrees. Y'all was saying that the world ain't ready for y'all to compete in the private sector for jobs. What happened to that? There was a lot of arrogance at that time. There's a lot of talking tough, twisting necks, showing degrees. Y'all was sitting there talking about how men can't compete with y'all and that it's difficult out here in these streets for men and y'all need to level yourselves up and put yourselves in debt and make sure that y'all, you know what I'm saying, that whole 9 yards. Now the world is against you. I thought that y'all was the business owners hiring each other and y'all had the connections and y'all was a part of the sororities and it was a sister code and nobody can compete with us when it comes to our education level and all of this stuff. And now it's, hey, if you got a job, make sure you keep it because they want us in Burger King and McDonald's all of a sudden. See, guys, they do what they got to do. They'll drive Uber, they'll jump into McDonald's, they'll get 2 or 3 jobs to float them or to carry them over and allow for them to be able to feed their family. And sometimes you'll see them complain or rage out, but they certainly ain't going to be out here talking big talk and then not being able to back it up. And so, guys, a lot of times they'll do what they got to do. We don't have no pride. We'll go and take the stocking job over at the local grocery store overnight. We'll go work in whatever Home Depot. We'll take the side jobs, odd jobs. We'll hustle. We'll do all of that at the same time. We'll practically kill ourselves for our family. And now you see women going through it, and now all of a sudden it's the world is against me, woe is me. I got you.
And McDonald's and shit, but they ain't even hiring me there. I didn't apply for that. It's hard. Keep your job.
So I'm at the point of my job search where I believe that God wants me to be a full-time influencer
I don't understand why it's always on God. Why do God want y'all to do this?
because in the span of 3 years, I have lost 3 jobs. And at this point, I don't know how many more interviews and just like going on LinkedIn every single day I can do, because why is it that 2023 I was working as a hostess throughout like college, and the
Oh, so
restaurant
you're a baby.
decides to close down. Okay, cool. Was moving back home anyway, so didn't matter. In 2023, again in October, I get a full-time job right after college. Then I find a second job that is basically hosting again. But then this time, maybe like a couple months after getting the job, they also decide to close down. And now, after a year of having this job, my job is terminated. So at this point, is God trying to give me a sign? Granted, I know that I'm still going to be looking for a job. Like, I'm not crazy, guys, but
I'm glad you got your head on
there
straight.
has to be a sign to this, because there's no way that I lost 3 jobs in the span of 3 years.
It's called being an adult, and you know, it's called being an adult. It happens, and it's cyclical. When you're gonna have jobs, and you're gonna not have jobs, and businesses gonna close. And I'm not really sure I know any adult in my entire life, on my 43 years on this earth, as a result of this, as a recording in this video, that hasn't been laid off or hasn't been let go for a job or fired or something like that. And so I'm trying to understand where God is inserted into this, and how He is advocating for you to be an influencer. I don't know.
Like every single year. This is just crazy.
I cannot believe how terrible this job market is. I think the data, the underlying like unemployment data, would belie that information. Aside from the fact that once you exhaust your unemployment, you're not traditionally considered unemployed anyway. I moved to Las Vegas in 2009, at the peak of what we would call the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And it was rough here. It was rough here. In fact, one of the things I used to do for a hobby was I would go to like abandoned places in Las Vegas and photograph them. I called it Lost Vegas. I think that name was taken. And it was
Gotcha.
very, very hard to get a
I mean,
job when I moved here. Like, it was very hard, but I hustled, and eventually I got like a job working at a cell phone place, and then eventually landed in the field that I wanted to be in. And it was very, very hard to do that. But it is nothing. It is nothing like this. And that's what I think is really hard to understand.
what year was he saying? What year did he say that was? Let me know inside of the chat.
Like, the data would tell you it's actually not that bad. I know so many people who are working 2 or 3 jobs, or who are working in fields that they would not normally have worked in. And just to be clear, I'm not knocking any kind of work at all. Like, that's not the point of the conversation. But I know so many people who have 2 degrees who are, working in retail jobs or working at restaurants. And a lot of them feel really, really trapped. And even those types of fields are, getting harder and harder to get into because of the squeeze. And one of the things that's also not discussed right now is that one of the reasons the sort of economic underlying factors of the job market, it doesn't look as bad, is because of the fact that we've had this situation with, immigration and people being removed from the country. And there's been a sort of unhealthy balancing out of that. Absent that, the economic numbers, I think, would be much worse. But I know so many people who are
Unhealthy balancing out of that.
just like living on their credit cards, or living in their cars, or living in Priuses, or living in vans, or living in RVs, who are still just on the edge of losing it all. The very wealthiest people in my sphere are doing better than ever. They're remodeling, they're doing the driveways, they're getting new appliances, they're going on lots of trips, all those things. But the raw feeling that I continue to have is like, this is so much worse from my experience than 2009. So much worse. I know people that have submitted well over 1,000 job applications. I know people that have been to like 40, 50 interviews. I know people who have never had an interview back, even though they're highly skilled and highly qualified. This is not Vegas specific. Just to be super clear, I am not making a Las Vegas video. This is like,
I'm not sure exactly what the year is, but I'm assuming that he's just gonna say '08, right? That time. There's nothing in my lifetime that will ever compare to what was going on in '08. There were no jobs. Vegas was dead. Dead. I remember visiting Vegas around like '08, maybe like '09 or something like that, '09, 10 or whatever. And I was asking or having a conversation about what the economy was like and all of this other type of stuff. You have no idea. I think that second to Detroit may have been Vegas as far as who was impacted the most by what was happening in the housing crisis and the bank meltdown. Nothing in our lifetime could even compare to it. But different conversation. Maybe I'll have it on the Millionaire Morning Show. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments.